Hello, my name is Anthony Mahshigian, and I'm going to be demonstrating a QR code reader. So ignoring this flashlight and breadboard for now, this here is a Raspberry Pi, a mobile battery pack, and a camera. And using these three elements, I'm going to be reading a QR code. I have some sample QR codes printed out that have just text data, and it's going to be printing them on the screen here. I'm using VNC Viewer here to look at what's on my Raspberry Pi. So the code here for a simple QR code reader is going to be making use of OpenCV. So what it's doing is it's going to be taking a video of the screen, and this detector algorithm is going to be running forever. And what it's going to do, or until the user exits out of it. And what it's going to be doing is it's going to be looking for a QR code. So using the library for QR code, what it's going to have is it's going to detect a QR code, and it's going to tell us what the QR code says. And it's also going to tell us the dimensions of where they are in the screen. So using these dimensions, we can draw a line around it on the screen, and then we can also put the text, which is just the data that the QR code says. So that's what's encoded in the QR code. And then here, we basically just print if data, we print data, so that tells us if we got a reading from, if there's a QR code in the camera view, then it will print out the data that it has. And this all runs until we quit out of it. So now to demo. This is a view of my kitchen here. The camera's upside down, but the orientation will not matter for the QR code. So what it's gonna do is I put this QR code in front of the camera and here, so when it's off the screen, nothing's gonna happen. And then as I move it onto the screen, it draws the bounding box around it, and then it also says the data that's in the QR code. And then here, it prints that data to the screen. So now, I decided to expand on this simple reader, and I added a flashlight functionality. So the goal of this was to be able to remotely control a flashlight with QR codes. I have one QR code for turn on and one QR code for turn off. So what this flashlight does, it uses its own battery pack as a power source, and I use a transistor so that way one of these output pins can control to let this circuit flow, or let current flow to this flashlight, and that turns the flashlight on and off based on this Raspberry Pi's control. And in my code, I coded it so it depends on what the QR code says. So the only changes I made to the previous one was I used the GPIO library. So this made the pins able to act as output pins, and those output at 3.3 volts. And that's what I ended up using this transistor for, so that way I could have the 4.5 volt battery pack control the flashlight. So when the QR code's detected, the only difference is I have this Boolean that tells us if the flashlight should be on or off. So if we detect a turn on command, it'll set it to true, and if we detect a turn off command, it'll set it to false. And then each time through this detector loop, we will also, based on what this Boolean is, we will turn the flashlight on or off. So I'm going to print to the screen any data that's read, and I'm also going to print whether the light's on or off each time we run through this loop. So I'm going to plug in the battery pack here, and I'm also going to plug this into the GPIO pin I chose. Now, I run my program. So we initialize with the light off. That's good. And I'm going to take this QR code, which says turn on, replace it, and as we see here, it says light on. So now we go to the light and we see the LEDs are on. And as I put the QR code up for off, the light turns off. So we can go back and forth between on and off, just like so. It's hard to see with this camera, the LEDs on or off, but you can see